Thank you.
Honorable Jinapor, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, let me begin by congratulating the Honorable Ablakwa for his nomination to this very high office as and occupying the shoes of statesmen like Addo, Akuffo, Obeda Samoa, Victor Gbeho, and the rest, especially at his age, is quite a significant achievement, and warm congratulations, honorable nominee. Mr. Chairman, Ghana's policy, foreign policy, since 1957 has essentially been non-aligned, and as the nominee himself articulated in one of his responses, if I would say, we neither look left or right, we look forward, and we don't take sides. Indeed, if you look at the NDC manifesto, specifically page 160, you will see that that same policy is articulated. And then President Mahama, in his inaugural address, also reiterates the point. Mr. Chairman, I followed the nominee. I've read most of his articles, his presentations, news articles about him and all of that. And it is clear on the evidence that the nominee is a leftist. It's a leftist. I would say he's a socialist. I will refrain myself from saying that he's a communist. I will refrain myself from saying so. You will see, Mr. Chairman, that the nominee, for example, wrote a tribute to His Excellency John Pombi Makafuli and delivered it on the floor of Parliament when he died on 17th March 2021. And therefore, Mr. Chairman, the nominee's views are known as a radical left. How is he going to marry his obvious personal ideological leanings and inclinations, which he's on many occasions said he's very proud of, in wiggling his way through this complex international geopolitics of the left and right as it relates to Ghana's policy of non-aligned? Thank you.
This question could have been asked without making reference to all those documents. Please proceed to answer the question.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Chairman, let me place on record that I am not a communist. Of course, I am left of center. All of us in the NDC subscribe to the left of center political ideology, which we are very, very proud of. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has worn the badge proudly because we believe in the welfare state and we believe in humanism to our economic interventions that don't encourage exploitation, particularly by a few elites. So you are right about where I belong ideologically, left of center, which is where my party, the NDC, belongs. So I am very much at home. Having said that, let us remember Kwame Nkrumah's tact and skillful approach to our foreign policy. Kwame Nkrumah was on the left, but he managed to, at the height of the Cold War, a bipolar era, to still get the Americans to support him in the construction of the Akuffo Dam, and to still have the Russians to help him in building our atomic agency. So that model is what we must adopt. So our friends know where we belong ideologically, but they respect us and they know that we don't mean harm or we don't bear grudge or have any malice. We are friends of all and enemies to none. So be rest assured that even though I have left leanings, I will be very objective in pursuing a foreign policy, which Article 40 says must be guided by our national interests. Kwame Nkrumah did it, President Mahama has been doing it, receiving support from all sides. And in the current multipolar world, be rest assured that I will attend to this responsibility with all fairness and objectivity. Note from my CV that in the 8th Parliament, I was chair of the Ghana-Cuba Parliamentary Friendship Association, but also very active in our U.S. Ghana Parliamentary Friendship Association. Indeed, a proud member of the American Council of Young Political Leaders. So there are a few of us who straddle and who are liked by all sides because we are very objective in our dealings. So be rest assured, I consider myself a good friend of all the forces at play in the global arena.
Chairman, that is reassuring, and I think, Mr. Chairman, it's important that we lay the proper foundations before we ask the questions so that both the nominee and the country...
Please don't litigate with me.
No, I'm not litigating, Chairman. I'm just... So I have a follow-up question. Now, again, Mr. Chairman, the nominee is on record to have, you know, if you want, not so much criticized, but raise substantive and significant issues with Ukraine as opposed to the West in the Ukraine-Russian war. And I have an article here where the nominee indicates that the war between Russia and Ukraine, which has been roundedly condemned by all international organizations, the United Nations, Africa Union, ECOWAS, and the rest, is as a result of Ukrainians' failure of foreign policy. Mr. Chairman, also the nominee is on record to have taken issues with the West in its dealings with Israel as it relates to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And the point I seek to make is that the nominee is obviously, in his years of activism, taking sides in these two major international conflicts of the world. Out of this committee and parliament, how is he going to navigate his way through this complex issue of Ukraine-Russian war, Palestinian-Israeli war, mindful of its rippling effects in the global geopolitics? How's he going to do that? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and let me commend the Honorable Abu Jinapor for the well-researched question. The challenge that we all face, I've served on the appointments committee, is that you have to summarize, and so you can't read these articles in full. But those who will want to pay regard to the articles, you see that I try to be very objective and balanced and more nuanced than the summary.
The conclusion, whether you've taken sides, is it correct?
No, the conclusion is far-fetched. I have not taken sides. And Mr. Chairman, I know you'll be happy to hear that I have been invited by both sides. There are probably few people who have achieved that. The Russians invited me, and I was guest in their parliament. There was a second invitation where I went with former President Mahama to launch his book at the Russian Academy of Sciences, the Russian translation. And then the Ukrainians invited me. I spent a week there. We were, touring Kiev and other places. We went to the landmines. I helped them to even demine some of the Russian mines that had been left in Ukraine. So that should tell you, I mean, the countries don't have any issues with me. Israel has invited me on a number of occasions. The Palestinians have also done that. Indeed, the Palestinian ambassador in Ghana is one of my very, very good friends. And so is the Israeli ambassador. So please be rest assured that despite my ideological stance on these matters, you will see objectivity. But Article 40 is clear. We must also, in the pursuit of our foreign policy, be guided by international law, a rule-based order, international principles. So where our friends err, we should be bold to point it out. Because as Nkrumah said on the 16th of December 1959, when he presented our foreign policy to Parliament, he said that we will not be passive spectators, that as good friends, when you err, when you commit genocide, when you commit atrocities against women and children, we will point it out to you. And it does not make us bad friends. It rather, makes us very, very good friends. So that's the position I take on these matters.
Thank you very much. Your last question? Or you have a follow-up on this?
This was a follow-up on the first question.
It cannot be.
No, it was.
It cannot be.
I said so that it was a follow-up.
No, the fact that you said so doesn't mean it should be a follow-up.
No, it was
Please,
a follow-up.
ask a follow-up question whether he is taking sides in these various wars that we have mentioned. Please go ahead with the follow-up question on this.
Mr. Chairman, respectfully, I asked a question about his leanings on taking sides, and I made a follow-up on the specific issue of whether or not you take sides. It was all about taking sides. Thank you.
How is he going to marry?
No, it was taking sides. And then I gave a specific example, whether he would take sides.
Please, your last question.
Last question?
If you have a follow-up on this, I will allow it.
Mr. Chairman, no. This is it. I can give you the documentations I use. No, because it's a follow-up. It was a follow-up on the first question. Thank you. So, Mr. Chairman, the question I want to ask the nominee, which is the second question, is the nominee, if he's given the nod as foreign minister, as I said initially, it's a very high office. And as he himself has been articulating, it will require, in his words, rules-based. It will require a lot of fairness, objectivity, and all of that. Mr. Chairman, on 23rd December 2024, the nominee made a post where he alleged that unimpeachable evidence from the Lands Commission shows that the two daughters of President Akuffo have acquired some state lands in cantonments, and that amounted to state capture. Mr. Chairman, the company which was the subject matter of this allegation was Nsunam Company Limited. Mr. Chairman, a search at the Lands Commission will show that the land in question is the property of administrators of the estate of Justice, the late Justice Johnson Sribo, a former justice of the Supreme Court and chairman of the Electoral Commission, who acquired the land as far back as 1969, specifically on 1st June 1969. And indeed, Mr. Chairman, at the time, the president's children were not even born. The subject matter land was acquired by the state, Mr. Chairman, as far back as 1869. And the lease will end in 2069. So clearly, this land is not state land. The president's children did not buy state land. On the evidence, on the record, it is absolutely clear that they did not buy state land. Will the nominee concede, given that he's seeking to be foreign minister and will be required to be fair to all manner of persons, that the president's children were wrongly accused and he will apologize to them? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, your quick answer.
Well, thank you very much for the question. The Honorable Abu Jinapor will recall that when I put out that article, I supported the article with evidence from the Lands Commission. I attached an official search that I had conducted on those two lands. Indeed, those are lands that you have in Somnam and then the lot boutique, a fashion boutique. And I sought to inquire from the Lands Commission the status, the ownership of the land. And the Lands Commission responded in that official search, which I published, and Ghanaians can go on my social media handles. You see the official search results, where the Lands Commission, in their response, indicated that all those lands are government lands. So in my article, I asked a question. Is this another state capture? Is President Akuffo allocating state lands to his daughters? It was a question based on empirical evidence, what the Lands Commission had told me in writing as official search results when I put in that official search. So there is really no need to apologize on this matter. We need to probably be discussing reforming the Lands Commission. You were Lands Minister. If you think that the Lands Commission misled me, you need to join us with ideas on how to reform the Lands Commission, get their data to be more accurate, so that when we conduct official search, what they tell us, the reports that they give us, their search certificates, are not misleading. Because all of the facts you've put out, I don't know them. In 1979, I wasn't born.
Thank you.
So the Lands Commission told me they are government lands, and I have the documents here.
Thank you.
To confirm
Thank you
that. So
very much. Thank you very much.
It's not my fault.
Any follow-up on the land acquisition?